Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to YMA Chat Podcast, video cast here on StreamYard and streaming on Facebook channels, YouTube channels, LinkedIn, and X. And today we are talking about Give Where You Grow. And we were having a discussion this morning, actually yesterday morning, about giving and where do you give, how do you give, what do you do? Do you do volunteer work, mission work? What are the things that you do to give back to the world, to the community? And tonight we're going to just kind of do this brief introduction to it. Talk about why people give, some of the stories from Yarwood's martial arts, some takeaways from that, and one of the challenges of the week. And then we'll close at around 30 minutes or so of tonight. And today, I believe this is 57.
Yes, sir.
Videocast number 57. And I want to just get started by one of the things that has always been there for me is my parents brought me up to be a giver. I watched my dad give and give and give and give and give. I watched my dad get in trouble giving because my stepmom would say, "John, when are you going to finish fixing that thing in the garage?" Instead of always having to go over to other people's homes to fix their things that they're waiting to get fixed. And whether good or bad, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
And it brought up in me a tremendous desire to help others before myself. Of course, here I am, a business coach. And many times, for years, it was something that I struggled with, getting my own stuff done. And I would procrastinate all the time. And instead now, what has happened is I create with my coaches games and goals for myself so that I am being a demonstration of what I want my clients and what I want around me and my family to do in the way of giving. And it's not easy, when tithing is one of the giving things for me that I have spent a tremendous amount of time judging, evaluating, and how do I do it? If I don't have enough money to pay my bills, do I still give? Do I still tithe? Where am I at? And so this is a great conversation, and stick with us tonight because I think we'll touch on some things and you may hear an opening or an opportunity for yourself. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Yarwood. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Again.
For sure. Unlike you, I didn't really grow up in that giving. Like, it wasn't like a big part of what we did. Not that it wasn't there, but I grew up in a single parent household, 2 kids. She was working full time, going to school full time, trying to raise 2 kids, and we tried to do what we could, but there just wasn't a lot there for us to do. We were kind of more on the receiving end of that than the giving end of things. So I think for me, seeing the generosity of others in helping us when we needed help, whether it be my mom needed somebody to watch us kids, or we needed a ride somewhere, or taking the kids out for whatever. I mean, there was just so many little things that people did for us. When I look back on, I see all that stuff. I think that kind of instilled in me that that's the way I can do something for others, is give forward, I guess. So for me, when I had an opportunity to do that, I really jumped on it. It's been awesome to be able to use my platform as a martial arts school owner, to use that to give, to be part of the community, to be somebody who is able to go out and help others with no expectation of anything in return. It affected me so much that we actually have one of our stripes that kids have to earn is the community service stripe. So they have to go out and do 2 events of community service. It doesn't have to be necessarily hours, but we have kids now who are like picking up trash around their neighborhood, or they're helping their neighbors, with yard work, or they're going to feed my starving children, or setting up program. I mean, they're doing so many things, right? They're out there in their neighborhood, in their community, um, giving of their time. Kids raise money for their school. They raise money for, like, we just did a pink belt fundraiser for breast cancer, and it's all people, mostly our students, buying pink belts to raise money to give. We have a recipient that's going to be coming in. We're going to be giving them $1,000 that the kids raised by buying these belts. So our whole structure, our whole culture, our whole community is built around that idea of giving. And it's, to me, sure, it has a positive effect on our business, right? When we give, ultimately things come back to us, but it's not why we do it, right? It's something that I think is important in everybody's life, to at some point humble themselves and go help somebody else, just because that's what we do, right? So we have, as a school, have found many different ways, opportunities, avenues to be able to give to the community, give to other people, give to our own students. So to me, it's been something that's really close to my heart with that, and it's baked into our culture.
And what would you say then was the drive behind setting up some type of giving at Yarwood Martial Arts?
I think there's several factors, but if we're talking specifically about, like, I have a foundation that I started a couple years ago called the YMA Legacy Foundation, and this foundation, we raise money to provide scholarships for kids who are, maybe their family is in financial difficulty, or maybe they have situations where it's challenging for them to afford to have their kids in martial arts. So we have a program whereby we give out scholarships for kids or families to come in and be able to train with us, with expenses being covered by the scholarship. We have anywhere from 3-month scholarships all the way up to a full year, and it covers all expenses, including tournaments, including tuition and testings, all that stuff. The main drive behind that was my personal experience when I was a kid. Like I said, my mom was a single mom, and I started training in martial arts. I think I was in 9th grade, and I was probably going for 6 or 7 months. I loved it. I loved it, loved it, loved it. And I had to stop because my mom couldn't afford it anymore. And at that time, they didn't have anything like that, any scholarship or something at the school. So I had to quit. And I always thought about, where would I be in my martial arts career had I stayed, right? I'd be at 40 years of training right now had I stayed in it, right?
Boy, do I understand that.
I'm still at 17, which isn't terrible, but I mean, I don't know where I'd be, who knows what it would have turned into. But that experience, once I was in a position in my school personally to be able to set up something like that, I originally was kind of doing it under the radar. I would, come across families or something that needed some assistance. So we would kind of, I don't know, we would lower tuition or defer cost, or we would just say we'll let you do this testing for free or whatever. And it turned into kind of almost, to me, I mean, I don't know what it was from the outside, but to me it became like almost like a favoritism thing. Like some kids got it, some kids didn't, and there wasn't any system in place to determine who deserved it and who didn't. So it was more of a gut feeling on my part, and I decided that I need to really do this right. So I started looking into just starting a charitable organization, not necessarily a 501c3, but a charitable organization, and saying, okay, I'm gonna have funds set aside specifically that are going to be for these, right? And then as I was digging into it, I was talking to my wife about it. We ended up looking into actually going all the way and setting up a 501c3 through the U.S. government. So our foundation is legal, nonprofit 501c3, covered by all the stuff. So it's separate from my business specifically. So we use that as a way we fundraise for it, raise money, so that way we can provide scholarships. We set up an application process whereby we can weed out people who are more deserving, not necessarily deserving, but more eligible than others, just based on their situation. We can, like I said, go anywhere from 3 months up to a full year scholarship for individuals and families. So it's kind of turned into its own entity, which is pretty cool. So it's kind of nice to have that option. Fundraising has been a challenge, but we try and do the best we can with it. I know you help us out when you do your ice cream cart at our tournaments. You donate some of the proceeds to our foundation, which is really cool. We have currently one individual and 2 families on scholarship at our school. So the funds are being used. It's just the funds are limited. So we're working on opportunities to be able to raise more money so we can have more scholarships to be able to give to students who need it.
And I think when we look at when we look at what's available and what are some of the things that you can do as a nonprofit, as a charitable organization, as somebody that really is looking for and working with contributing money, there's a lot of places these days where you can you can give your money to, and there are people that are knocking on your door every day. When you look at what it is to be a martial artist, and I think you said this very well here, giving back builds confidence and purpose in students and families. Because I think when you see how lucky we are in the United States, in this first world lifestyle, and how amazing it is, and what we have available is absolutely crazy. So to be able to say, you know what, we're going to give 10% or 15% of our income that we're tithing, or we're giving it to a business, or we're giving it to church, or we're giving it to a nonprofit, or we want to just help somebody.
Yep.
There's something about that giving that shifts how you look at what's important in life.
For sure.
And I think that balance that you're talking about, right? Just like, without being balanced, kicking in Taekwondo becomes
Falling.
yeah, uncomfortable. and so I think that um, to we're blessed with being able to work, and not everybody can give because they don't make enough maybe to be able to give. Then for them to be able to give of their time volunteering is another very powerful way to give. I look at, I run the giving side of Cullen's, and we have a nonprofit that we're working on. And I look at some of the stuff. People come and ask for money, and we're a new business. I don't have a bank full of money that I can write. I'm looking at, am I going to make payroll in a month? Because the ice cream gets very quiet between now and the holidays.
Yeah.
Not that people don't eat ice cream. They just stop coming to an ice cream shop because they don't think about it.
Yep.
Right. And so many ice cream shops close at this time. Right. Like Halloween, they're done. They're out of here. They go south if they've been doing it for a long time, or they just kick into gear in their regular job and come back in March. Well, we don't have the ability to do that. And I look at, hey, if you have, like you said, I come to your tournaments. If I have a chance where I can sell, $300 worth of ice cream, and I can turn around and write you a check for $90, 30%.
Yep.
Then we both win. Like I still have a little bit of money to pay for ice cream and move through the ice cream. But to just hand somebody a check, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's been a big learning curve for me, and I know that marketing is a part of it, right?
Yep, for sure.
I've got somebody that's trying to get me to put our logo on folders that go to the Champlain Park Academy school, right? They get a folder,
Mm-hmm.
a homework folder. Each student does. And we had a little Cullen's logo on there. And I look and I go, what did that provide? And my wife, she doesn't even think about it. She's just like, nope.
Yep.
Nothing that's tangible. Nope. So that's another thing for giving. When you look at this, what are some of the things, if we give, what is the investment, and is it something that is manageable and marketable? And I love this, like for you, when we did the, I'll just use the Pink Belt campaign, and the Toys for Tots. So with the Pink Belt campaign, to meet that person that gets the check from the Pink Belts, and to see, like, this is over and above anything that they're dealing with their insurance. And perhaps it pays for them to go on a weekend and stay in a hotel.
Yep.
And have a beautiful night in a hotel.
Yep.
And to see that, I mean, that's awesome, because it's money that they didn't have, and that we tell them, use it to treat yourself.
Yep. Do whatever you want with it.
Right. And then Toys for Tots, we get to see a Marine come, see the show, hey, this is what we do, and we collect and then we give it out. that I think builds the community by knowing that sometimes these people, a family may have a hard time. And what
Yeah.
do they do if they have a hard time? Does the community have their back, or do they have to move out and go live somewhere else or live on the street? And I like to think that if something happened to one of my neighbors, we'd step up and say, hey, stop in Monday, Wednesday, Friday and grab food, because we'll make enough food for you to have food.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's part of when I bought a generator to, because there was, when we first moved in back 30 some years ago into the house, for some reason, there were a lot of power outages. And I got sick and tired of being out of power. So I bought a big generator that I could stick in my shed, run it for 24 hours. And I told my neighbors, I said, if you can get an extension cord to this, I can feed power to 3 houses.
Yeah.
And they got extension cords, and we kept their food alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and if it needs gas, put gas in it. And, I looked at it as I had the ability to buy it. I had the ability to put it in a place where it would make a difference. And it saved a lot for the community. That type of thing for me was inherently put into me by my parents when I saw what they did for people in their neighborhood and friends.
Yeah, it's amazing how even the tiniest little gesture can have so much power behind it. Right? You don't have to go big. You don't have to be, the Bill Gates Foundation and provide a whole village in Africa with food for a year. I mean, you can, like you said, you can help your neighbor who needs, power when the power goes out so their food doesn't, to them, their food, that's their sustenance, right? If their food goes bad, they don't have food, right? And the only thing you did, obviously, is a big thing to them. All you did was say, get an extension cord. That's it, right? And you provide power to them. To them, that's a lifeline. That's a literal lifeline. And it to you is just, hey, I got a generator I want to share. To them, it's like, you saved our food so we can eat. And so it's just those tiny little gestures that can make such a huge difference in somebody's life. And you don't know where they take it. Who knows what they're going to do with it? Maybe they take it and now they're saying, hey, I really appreciated that Les did this for me. It made me want to go help somebody else. Right? And it cascades and it turns into more and more. Those kids notice that. The neighbors notice it, right? And who knows what it turns into.
And that right there, I think is that is so much fun to see that.
Yep.
That cascade, that waterfall.
Yeah, for me with the Purple Stripe, we've had kids who've set up programs at their school, right? Mentorship programs for kids who are disabled, like in their wheelchairs, and they need to get from class to class. They set up a program where kids can volunteer to go help get that kid from one class to the other, right? And by doing that, they get to help this kid be on time to class. They might be late to class, but it's okayed by the teachers because of what they're doing, right? Yeah. And that kid is super happy because they're in class, right? They get to go to class and somebody got them there. And then the kid that helped them feels good because I got them to class, right? And I helped somebody and they want to do more of it, right? And it just turns into this whole thing. And then they go home and say, hey, Mom, guess what I did today? Right? And Mom's like, oh, that's awesome. And maybe we can go do this, right? And it spreads. And it's so awesome to be able to see that from one tiny gesture can turn into such a big thing.
And I think that, on here you've got, when you give to others, your community grows stronger.
Yep.
You also, building leaders starts with building givers. leadership isn't necessarily about a title, it's about service.
Yep,
And
100%.
and how you do that. And I think, boy, to me, that's amazing stuff, because if I can start the ripple, that's a ton of fun.
Yep. Yeah, the whole Purple Stripe Pro thing for us has turned into, it's been awesome. I love getting the Purple Stripe sheets and seeing what kids are doing, right? We got kids who are helping their neighbors. We got kids who are going to read at old folks' homes. I'm actually working with one of the members of our networking group. We're going to set up a pen pal thing for our kids to write to the elderly that are locked up in homes that don't have access to go anywhere, right? So they have these pen pal programs where the kids write back and forth with these, and then at some point we're going to put a program together where they can actually they can meet each other and see the impact that they've had. It's super cool.
That'll be a blast. Yep. And like you mentioned here on your sheet today, giving doesn't have to be big. Every act counts.
Mm-hmm.
Look for small ways to serve, helping, mentoring, and donating time. When a student helps another tie their belt, they're already learning service.
Oh, so I got a great story about that. We've had a lot of students over time that have been on the spectrum, been autistic, ADHD, that kind of stuff. And we currently have, I think we have like 6 right now. But we have one that was struggling with his form, and he finally got it figured out. He got the confidence, he learned it, and he was excited about it. And he saw another kid struggling. And this kid, they both just started within the last month or so. This other kid was really struggling. He went over there and started helping him, right? So he saw a kid that needed help, and he went over and did it, right? That's so baked into our community now that even within class, it's not even the instructor. It's another kid who's maybe 2 weeks ahead of another kid saying, hey, here's how I figured it out. Here's how I learned it. Here, I want to help you with that, right? And it's so awesome to see that, right? That is leadership. That kid stepped up in a time of need and helped somebody else out. He didn't have to. We didn't tell him to. We didn't remind him to. Nothing. He just went and did it. And it's awesome to see that stuff. That makes an instructor proud.
So the challenge that I want to put out there from today's topic is to people that are listening, that come back and hear this, that may come back and listen to this, or even just read about it and read some of the notes, is where could you give in such a way that it will be like planting a seed, and that seed of growth will open up a whole new arena for you? What does it look like for you to give?
We've been teaching the kids to see opportunity, right? Not look for opportunity. That's different. See opportunity. Something happens and they just go, oh, I want to go help here, right? Versus walking around the neighborhood. Where can I help, right? That's fine too. But to the point now where they're starting to see things. They're like, oh, there's trash over there, right? On the ground. And then they start, oh, hey, there's more over there. Hey, there's more. You know what? I'm going to go start picking it up. And then all of a sudden they go, hey, I got some friends. I'm going to have them come help me, right? And now you got 5 kids out in the park picking up trash for a place where they go play. Just because one kid noticed a wrapper on the ground, right? And it turns into this whole community park cleanup thing. That's all it is, right? It's nothing. It didn't they didn't start at community park cleanup, right? They started at a wrapper on the ground that needed to get thrown away.
Yep.
And it grew from there, right? So that's the kind of stuff when you start to notice things, you start paying attention, you start to see them, Like, oh, I can help here. Oh, I can help there. It doesn't have to be at a charitable organization. It doesn't have to be at a nursing home. It doesn't have to be. It can be literally next door neighbor needs help with the yard, and you say, hey, I see that they, maybe their lawnmower's not working and it's in the shop. They could be able-bodied. Doesn't matter. But you know what? My mower works. I'm going to go mow their lawn for them because their mower's in the shop. Who knows, right? That still counts. And what do you think that neighbor is going to feel like? Hey, that was awesome. My neighbor went and helped me. I know when my neighbor plows my driveway in the wintertime, that's awesome. I mean, that's charitable giving. He didn't have to do that.
It really is. I have a couple neighbors that have much bigger snow blowers than I have. And when the truck comes around the corner, I'm the first driveway that gets dumped in.
Yep.
And, I'll get up early, or my wife will, and we'll get the snow taken care of. And then the truck comes out and creates this wall. Now, we both have trucks, so it's not as big a deal.
Yeah.
It used to be a big deal. And my neighbors would see this, and they'd come out, and with their bigger snow blowers, they'd just wipe it away.
They actually enjoy it. It's like, It's fun for them.
Well, and here's
hey, look, there's a big pile of snow. I'm gonna hit it with my giant snowblower.
I know that they just paid, crazy money for, and they get to use it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's last year there's this pathway through a field, and when it gets overgrown and then it rains or gets water, if you walk your dog through it, you get soaked. And for many years, somebody used to go in there and weed whack both sides of the path. Last year, I took the mower, my riding lawnmower, and I rode 3 blocks to go do that. Just because I knew the difference that it would make to somebody walking their dog.
Yep. You were inspired by somebody else doing it first.
Yep.
They had a weed whacker. You had a rider mower.
A riding lawnmower. Yep. Too funny.
Yep.
So the challenge: give where you grow. Volunteer time, donate, help a teammate, or come and join us at YMA when we have an event. Have some fun. Think about what can you do this week. And by the way, this isn't about just handing somebody money. One of the fears that I've always had, is to people that are begging for money, is that if I give them money, they're going to go use it to buy alcohol or tobacco. And I don't want that. I don't. So what I do is I have food.
Yeah.
Or water.
Get into a restaurant and buy them a burger.
Yep. And I hand them food. And you can sometimes see them go and look and go, why'd you hand me food? Is this bad? Is it good? But most of the time, now I will even hand them, a little package, like a bar, an energy bar. And, watching them read it, then open it up, eat it. To me, it's worth every penny.
Yep.
All right. So what are we going to be doing next week, sir?
I don't know yet. We'll see. It'll be something cool and exciting.
As always, make sure those of you watching take a look at the social media links, share this out. Let's create, between now and the end of the year, let's just create a tsunami, not a hurricane, but a tsunami of giving. And let's really see what we can do to put a dent in what some people need out there.
If you want something to do right now in the moment, November 1st, there's a lot of people that are losing benefits that they may rely on. Go to the food shelves and start giving, because the food shelves are going to start getting bombarded. Collect food, bring it in, give them money, whatever they need. There's going to be a huge need out there pretty soon.
All right. There you go. I just threw that in the chat. So take a look at that. And with that, Mr. Yarwood, thank you again.
Yes, sir.
And let's see what we can do here to have a little fun.